today?
Welcome back to the Be Ruthless Show. I'm your host, Sam Ruth, and joining me today is Bill CORRELL. Bill has a huge career in tech that I think is fascinating, but will not apply to my audience as much. So I'm going to start with Bill being a certified life and business coach who has consulted with a host of professionals and organizations on demanding projects and development goals. His core talent is to accentuate the PowerPoint of his clients to increase performance and results, making mostly minor additions and enhancements. Bill calls this the 5% effect. It's easier to focus on course correction than an entirely new direction. Bill continues to seek and add leading technology products and services to his company's offerings. In the recent times, he has helped not-for-profit organizations streamline operations, public image, and securing stable and sustainable future funding sources. In addition, Bill has launched a successful podcast called Lighting the Candle, A World That Works. Recently, Bill and his team recorded the 100th episode. Suffice it to say that Bill is for people living their best lives, especially kids. He works at this labor of love every day, currently enjoys spending time with your grandchildren, your wife Janet, your extended family, and all of your networking buddies. Thank you so much for being here.
It's my pleasure. I'm very excited about spending time with you, Sam.
You do such amazing work, and your business work is amazing, but I want to talk about what we have talked about. You do some work with nonprofits and veterans, and it is fascinating.
Well, it's an appropriate time to be having that conversation. I'm actually working on getting a seed money grant at the moment from the federal government to start an outreach that would benefit kids, first responders, veterans, and other people who are suffering from any type of PTSD, and grief would definitely be high on that list. There's no doubt about it. So our goal will not to be to create a not-for-profit. We're actually partnering with a foundation here in my community. They're wonderful folks, and I've known them for forever. I mean, seriously, 15 years or more. And we're all on the same page. They already have an outreach to veterans, a coffee shop, ride sharing. They help with the homeless aspect to it. And they're also connected to the addiction services providers in the community as well. So we won't duplicate that. What we'll do is we'll reach out to the other service providers in the area, and we'll see if we can raise the game by getting them more of everything, except for competition. I think when we start to create these connections between the folks that are doing things really well, it's going to be perfect. You know, the alignment, not everybody does everything well. There are some who have folks with talents in a particular area, and they're not really focusing too much on areas that they don't have talents. So let's see if we can pull that together and get a lot more people serviced as a result of it, and a lot more healthy human beings out there.
Such important work. It's actually January 17th today, which is International We Are Not Broken Day, right? The world doesn't know about these days, but it's a day to acknowledge people with these types of addictions, PTSD, these invisible things where we could provide more support and do more and have more conversations if people knew days like this existed, that we need the support. We're walking around and most of us look okay. I also have PTSD, not to the degree of having been in combat, but you don't compare, right? Like when you see a trigger and your post-traumatic stress kicks in, mine doesn't know the difference between the fact that I was in a fire and that someone else was in combat. We react, you know, the terror, the trauma happens. And people like that are walking around all over looking like you and me, invisibly looking okay.
Yeah. Well, I use an analogy. I think if you stare at the Rocky Mountains for a little bit, you and I both are big fans. They're always there. And I'll tell you, you look to the left and you look to the right, and the ones on the left have no idea that they're not as good looking as the ones on the right. And PTSD is kind of the same thing. It is what it is for you. And it's not something that you get to vote on. It's not like I'm going to have PTSD now. It's more like I hurt. I don't know where it's coming from. I don't know what to do about it. And I'm broken down. And quite frankly, I don't feel like doing anything, you know? So when you get to the point where, and I like to, the 5% method, I think, can also work for this. A little bit at a time, a little bit of steady progress over time, and allow new habits to take the place of the old habits, which is you don't have the distinctions for being well. And when you start to understand and look for distinctions that will give you access to being well, again, it's going to come. So it's really appropriate that today is the International I'm
We are
Broken.
not broken.
We are not broken. Okay. Well, one of my favorite Facebook memes is my wish for you is that someday you are hugged so long and so hard that all your broken bits fit back together again. And wouldn't it be cool if it could just be done with a hug? So, the other thing that I think kind of kicking things off here, I'm an expert at experiencing loss and grief and trauma, especially over the last couple of years. I've lost several relatives, including one of my favorite aunts who was living in North Glen, Colorado, and she passed away on my wife's birthday last year, the same day that my brother-in-law passed away. And funny enough, we were averaging like 1 to 2 people per month throughout 2023. And I'm still kind of like, figuring out what to do with that. However, I finally got to a point last year, and I don't know, maybe this will be useful for folks that are listening, some anyway, hope one at least. I finally got to a point last year where I basically said, I've got too much to do, to really take myself offline. And what I've got to do now is I've got to learn how to experience this differently than I have. Because what I was doing is I was self-medicating in the evening. I would have happy hour every single day. And, sometimes I would just put myself to sleep in the chair and that'd be it for the day. And about a year ago, we went on a cruise. I came back. I gained my 10 pounds on the cruise and I stepped on the scale and it said 280. And I said, man, that's not okay. I guess the lights are coming on the dashboard and I need to do something now. So I did. And I'm pretty good at intermittent fasting and making a change. And I don't have to do happy hour if I don't want to. So I didn't. Dropped 20 pounds in about 6 weeks. And then I stayed there for the rest of, until about October or so. But in that meantime, having a clear head to really decide that I wanted to feel, that I wanted to be present and I wanted to experience whatever this was in a different new way, and not label it, but just have the feeling start to become familiar to me. And I found that very uplifting and very supportive. And, I don't know how it is for you, but I don't know that you can go and talk to somebody else and that the talking necessarily makes it all go away. And many times for a moment or two, it makes it worse. So I had to kind of like pull myself up by my bootstraps and just basically say, my life is too important. I have too many people that love me. They probably don't even know I'm going through this because, like yourself, I show up on Facebook every single day. I'm posting happy memes and all the rest of that. And for the most part, I could be happy. Being authentic and genuine is a big, important thing for me. However, I've never been one of those people that could just show up and throw up on somebody and say, hey, I feel like shit today and I'm sorry about that, but I'm not going to be your friend for a little while because I got things I got to do. That's not been me forever. So in terms of this whole conversation, and I'm not broken, it's the first thing you can say to put your foot in the snow, and head out and make new snow prints, And I know that especially in the Rocky Mountains, the neat part of that whole area is that even in December or January, sometimes you'll have a inch snowfall overnight, and by noontime the next day it's gone. You can go play golf, you know. And on the flip side, you can go 5, 6 weeks and not have it be above 15 degrees. So that's always there. Now, how are you going to operate? I mean, the metaphor for life has a lot to do with that. The weather is not something you're ever going to control. Now, what are you going to do? So I'll take a breath here. I really would like to hear your voice for a minute or two, Sam.
I agree that talking in certain situations can make it worse. I think it's important to find the groups and the people where you can have those moments and then be lifted up and leave not feeling worse. But as a man in certain professions, and you and I have talked about being from the Midwest and now for me being in Colorado, it's different here. So
Yeah.
for people in professions or in environments where there's less support and they might not be able to find those groups, this world just doesn't have enough resources, and even the ones that are available are hard to find. What do we do? So you had the wherewithal to do it yourself, but not everybody has those skills.
No.
So, I am in this environment that is not mental health friendly at all. So I'm thinking about the people here and the people who really feel like the stigma is too big, that this cannot be discussed.
Yeah.
Or I could lose my job, or I could have a mark on my record to prevent me from getting into college. These things that are real in this.
I'm standing by. So at the moment, I've lost you in the feed, and I'm checking. I still have internet. So this is what happens. So this will be a test of my ability to sit here quietly until the connection comes back.